All right, we are live. Let me make sure we're good to go on YouTube. We're good to go on YouTube. All right, there we go. Heard the echo. So awesome. It's going this time. Yeah, thanks for joining me, JP. I'm Mark. This is the Darth Grader channel on YouTube. Got lots of graded Star Wars CCG content. We're lucky to have with us JP. Is it Peltier?
Peltier, correct?
JP Peltier, the admin of the Star Wars CCG graded group on Facebook. I believe we have over, is it 200 members now?
200 members, and I think we just started late February, so not too bad a group.
Yeah, exactly. Not even a year old, and over 200 members. It's been kind of fun watching the community grow over the last, well, not even year, but just over 2021. So, hopefully we keep adding new members and seeing the love for graded Star Wars CCG that we all know and love. So maybe you could give a quick introduction to yourself.
Certainly. So I'm JP Peltier. It stands for Jean-Paul Robert Barnabas Peltier. I am French, first born in the United States in my family. Grew up on Long Island a little bit, and then moved to Southwest Missouri, where I went to high school and college. But of course, I was old enough, as you can tell I'm old, to enjoy Star Wars even from 1977. I got to see it in the movie theater as a kid. I was 7 years old. So I've always been a big, huge Star Wars fan and collected all the figures and all the play sets and toys, and I have a whole attic full. But in 1995, I actually went into a Hastings store, and there were all these cards. I didn't even know it was a game for a long time. And they threw all of the sealed product, all the sealed boxes into a barrel, and they were selling them for $5 a box. So I just bought the whole thing, just thinking it's just more Star Wars to collect. So, and that's kind of what started my my love for Star Wars CCG.
Awesome. Yeah, many of the people who join the channel, have their own, stories. So it's always wonderful to hear everyone's personal anecdote of how they kind of got into the cult or the hobby, depending on how you see it. But there's certainly something for everyone. And you mentioned that, for Star Wars CCG, so are you primarily a collector then? Have you played the game?
Yep. So somebody finally taught me. I had a friend of mine who said, well, that's a game. And I said, well, I didn't understand what all the stuff was on there, and tried to read through the books. I knew there was something to it, but I didn't think it was a big deal until we started playing. So we just played around my house for a little while. Then all of a sudden there were in Springfield, Missouri, that's the Bespin region. There were some competitions, and it was just before Hoth came out, I believe.
Okay.
So,
Would that be in late 95 or so, or 96?
Yeah, probably 96 time, because I think A New Hope was already out. Not many people had it. Mm-hmm. And there were about 26, 28 people that we played in a basement at a bowling alley, and I had no idea. I was just going to watch to kind of see how it goes, and they said, we need an extra person. I hopped in, and I actually won this competition by throwing some decks together.
Nice.
And I kept my my sheets, and so I won probably many of the competitions in Springfield for maybe the next year or two, because the coordinator had some good gifts from Decipher at the time. When you won, you got, of course, the certificate, you got the shirt that had like Darth Vader on it, and then you got a box of the next series. So I was the first one to get Hoth. So just to add, insult to injury, is that now my decks are getting way more powerful, that they can't even get their hands on Hoth yet. And I just built crazy and better decks and kept winning. And then they started limiting the cards and banning them. I was a huge fan of limited resources. So I loved it, but really I was a collector first. Okay. And I still feel like I'm a collector first, player second. I understand the game, and I'm not bad at it, but I hate seeing the cards getting destroyed when people play them and there's no protection, or they put them up for sale and they go, hey, lightly played. It just makes me cringe just seeing how people don't treat it as a collection too, with all the beautiful artwork.
Right, and you're definitely a collector through and through because many people who are Star Wars fans, like myself, probably I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan. But when I was a kid, of course, I wanted the cards of all the characters because that's what I saw in the movie. So sometimes some of the set cards don't get quite as much love. But for yourself, at least I know with Premiere, you've been pretty diligent at trying to complete a whole set of trying to get highly graded cards, but you're going through each and every one of the cards in the set trying to get, I don't know, are you even, like, maybe someday you'll have a black label of all of them, but you're trying to get at least them BGS 9. Is that kind of your
Right.
modus operandi?
That's yeah. So that's my goal. I do have the Premier set completely graded. It grades out as a 9.13 on average. It's the number one Star Wars set for the registry for Beckett, and I brought just a third of the set. So this is what a third of the set looks like.
It's impressive.
All the graded cards, yeah. So I mean, if I just grab one,
right. Okay, yeah, that's I forget the name. It's a really long. The Droid, yeah. Star Wars. Okay.
So this is the middle third, and this is like cards 109 to number 216, something like that. But it's so heavy that I can't cart around the whole set all the time. But for this this streaming interview, I brought a third of it and threw it in the trunk of my car and brought it. But I'm already on to grading other sets. But it takes years. They don't get back to you very quickly. And at the time, believe it or not, when I sent off like my first 500, it only cost me $6 a grade. So everybody in the world that has Star Wars CCG would send it in for those prices. Now, I don't know if we can get bulk prices like that anymore. So I think I was way ahead of the curve, probably one of the first ones to even grade Star Wars through Beckett. They weren't even doing Star Wars. And then PSA didn't even want to have anything to do with gaming unless it was Magic.
Right. Yeah, that's been a recent, I say recent, within the last probably decade or decade and a half or so. But like, prices in hindsight were not too bad then. I know, like, when I was sending in some cards a year or two ago to PSA, right? I think prices were around $8 or $9 a card. And I was kind of thinking to myself, like, man, that's, it's a lot of money. Do I really want to do that? But now, after they increased prices, like they increased it a little bit, then they increased it to 20 and it's still got 20 per card at the bulk tier. And then they just did away with it. And now, we're hoping we can get back to that. It's kind of a different world. I think the similar happened with Beckett too. Like, I think it was around the same time that the whole COVID boom was happening. And so now it'll be difficult. We'll just have to play the waiting game to submit some more cards.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a frenzy, though. As soon as they open up the grading submissions, it's just going to be a frenzy, and people are going to go crazy, I'm sure. I mean, and look how bored a lot of people in our group's been. They've been sending off to all the other grading companies that are taking submissions right now just to kind of test the waters and kind of see what their aesthetics look like, how they grade. And we always have conversations in the group that says, well, this is more comparable to like 70% of what PSA does, but they also have a twist of the 4 important grading areas when the grading techs take a look at the cards too. So we always have great conversations in the group.
Yeah, if you guys haven't, actually, let me put the banner up. I forgot to put the banner up. Put that nice banner on the bottom. There we go. So, make sure to check out the Star Wars graded group on Facebook. That's the group that JP is the admin of. It's got a lot of good conversations. Sometimes there's even auctions for graded cards or just, general questions. So it's a great resource if you want to learn more about the cards you have or the cards that are available, just how to look at them and grade them yourself. JP's got a lot of resources he's posted there in the past, and he's definitely a veteran in that area. So we got a lot of great minds in there. You can pick their brains.
Absolutely. Good resources. And there's a lot of people that pose really good questions. I was, just going back through it from the very beginning, and there's absolutely no haters. Everybody's really encouraging. And that's what I want to bring out in this group is to be there to help people be better inspectors with your card, and share your stuff with the group. I like when we all celebrate together on people's successes. and find out what we could do better next time, because it really feels like it's us against the grading companies. And if there's any time that we can pull together and help each other have better success stories, then I think that's what the group's all about.
Yeah, indeed. And I think that's something that I've noticed kind of shift a little bit in the last couple of years. Like before, I mean, maybe like 2020, even grading was extremely niche. Like, maybe you were the one person going at it. Maybe a couple other people had gotten their feet wet a little bit, so to say, but I don't think anyone was really grading Star Wars CCG. I mean, other than yourself, especially with the premiere set, with any regularity. And it seemed like when the cards would come up, people wouldn't really know what to, make of it. Like, it just was kind of an unknown quantity. So it's nice to see that perhaps, the mentality towards it's more, I don't want to use the word accepting, but that's not necessarily wrong, because I think sometimes people were a little resentful is a bit strong, but they've got a strong Star Wars CCG has a strong player base, so I think sometimes, and people rightfully so, sometimes see what goes on in, like, say, sports cards, or what was going on with Pokemon cards, where people just get really into it and the prices start shooting to the moon or whatever, and maybe it'll be really hard to make a deck with like 6 Emperor Palpatines in it if everyone wants to grade their Emperor Palpatine. So I kind of get the idea there, but it is nice. Like, again, like, it would be a little bit of a travesty if someone had a mint Emperor Palpatine and they just go pop it in a deck and shuffle that bad boy up, and now it's all scratched up. Like, that would be kind of sad too. So maybe there's a middle ground that works well for everyone.
Right, and that's what it's all about. It's your collection. You have your hobby any way you want it. And for me, I grew up, where I was a young man in the early '80s, so I was big into sports cards, just about like all the kids that were my age. But I knew right away that the better the condition the card was, the more value it held. So I just, from the get-go, had always found ways to protect the cards, having them in plastic or in boxes and folders and binders. So it kind of carried over with the Star Wars cards. And so I reached out to, PSA and both Beckett early on, probably around 2001, 2002. And they weren't doing they wouldn't grade gaming cards. They weren't interested in that. They're primarily for sports. I mean, PSA stands for Professional Sports Authenticators.
Mm-hmm.
So Beckett, they have their feet wholly cemented into the sports world. All their Beckett price guides had all the biggest sports stars on the covers from the beginning, and that's all they focused on. So I'm the kind of person that I thought, well, what would be a solution to this problem? How can I get my cards to be protected and graded better? And I decided to start the one of the first grading companies that solely did gaming cards. And I convinced a friend of mine to partner with me in that. And we called it Black Label Grading. And we started it in late 2002, early 2003. And the actual company logo is this here.
Oh, very cool.
Black Label. And you can see it's from Springfield, Missouri. That's where our headquarters is. And so it looks very similar to a PSA casing.
Indeed.
Except for the fact that you'll notice that the label's on the bottom. Nobody has a label on the bottom. And so I wanted to have this format only because if you go to a art gallery or to a museum, all the paintings are usually on top and all the descriptions on the bottom, showcasing the card first.
That's a nice way to think about it. Yeah, that's
and so like if you look at like all of them, it's the name first. The first thing you're going to see is the grade and who graded it, and then the card seems to come second. Whereas this here, the card showcased, and then the bottom part is secondary. So I wanted to make sure that that the card came first and not the company name. So, and we stayed in business for a while. We actually, the company's actually still in business. We never closed it down.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So my partner, he actually had a very high level of education, and the military called him up and asked if he would join the military to work actually on a IT technology division, and he went for it. So we just kind of stopped the business. In fact, he wants to start it back up when he retires from the military, which I'm not opposed to.
Well, that's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
certainly something that's kind of a hot topic right now. Yeah, new grading companies. It's certainly something where there's a certainly if you were to specialize in Star Wars, I'm sure you'd find many happy patrons in the channel. You certainly got the expertise. So yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Yeah, nice bit of history you got there with that slab. How many cars did you end up grading about? Is that able to be shared publicly or?
Yeah, we ran into the tens of thousands.
Oh man, wow.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, we still have like tons of vault cards.
Mm-hmm.
As you can tell, these are all the Jedi packs, and um, so we had a lot of cards ourselves that we used for showcasing. We never
Mm-hmm.
sold any, but when people would submit the cards, we'd also do all kinds of cons. We had Game Con and Vision Con and a lot of different cons around the Springfield area. And if you showed up at the show, because we worked at the vendor booth, you can submit your cards there for $5 a grade. And people would bring their cards in there for the show, and we'd do it overnight. So it helped me learn a lot about the industry standard for grading conditions. So I feel like that's given me a super edge for when I send it into PSA or Beckett, that I actually inspect the cards like the grading techs would from those companies. Now I know AI is coming along, and they're going to be inspected by computers and probably a lot more accurate measurements and constraints. But I feel like I take no chances with anything. That if it's slightly, even if I can't even figure out what's wrong with the card, if it doesn't look right, I throw it aside and find something else to send. That's absolutely perfect.
So what is the? I mean, obviously, if you're trying to find a card that's free of visible imperfections, that's one thing. But what's something that maybe you envision that a newcomer to grading, to any cards, but especially Star Wars CCG, what's something that maybe you could provide them that might be like maybe a couple of things that maybe you could see someone could easily overlook that you might point out that may not be obvious at first glance, or would be the fastest way to, if you were to look at a card on eBay, how would you kind of try to figure if it's a card you want to test your luck with?
So that's a super difficult task all the time. You can never trust anybody's word, because our two definitions of what's considered near mint, and gem mint are different. And I learned that a long time ago. So I can't trust anybody in the pictures that they send. So I'm always apt to say, if you're really going to try to get your feet wet in it and get your hands on some cards, is maybe get some unopened packs, or get something that's in a box or sealed product first. Buying the individual card, people will say it went from pack to protection. It's pack fresh. And as soon as you open it up, there's so much surface wear and a couple of dings. And I know Premier and A New Hope and Hoth, they come out that way anyways. So you can't even sometimes trust the stuff that you open from sealed products. So I'd say you have probably the best bet if you want the best grades. And again, I know everybody's just got the dollar signs in their eyes. I'm a true collector. I rarely sell or auction stuff off.
Right.
I just grade by the hundreds and sit on it just for my own collection. But if you're looking for those mains, and you're looking for them in super great condition, so yeah, I just have to say, just get you some packs, open them up, and that's probably the best chance you have of finding one of the best condition cards.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, pack fresh. I mean, if you're going for it, that's probably the best way you could hope to do it, especially buying from, random people on the internet with different opinions on what mint means or doesn't mean, or maybe, they didn't even, it's in a sleeve, a double sleeve. It looks, nice through the sleeve. So, maybe that's a mint. Hard to say. But yeah, certainly a difficult, if you're thinking about it in terms of, cost effective way to get grade ready cards, it's certainly a daunting proposition with the price of seal being what it is these days.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. Unbelievable. I don't know how we afford it anymore. And really, some of the value that's in the box you open doesn't even compare to what the price of the sealed product is.
Yeah.
So I look at it as it's an investment. So if you're going to spend $800 or $1,500 on on an open box, especially like in Endor or Death Star 2. Um, be looking at those commons and uncommons. Believe it or not, I mean, it sounds crazy that I grade all those too,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, of this complete set of 324 cards, 315 of them are all population 1 of 1.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna fetch the highest prices. So yeah, that'd be my recommendation. And always, people don't seem to look at the back of the card for some reason. They spend so much time focusing on inspecting the front
Mm-hmm.
that the back actually has a different uh, border tolerance, and there's way more wear on the back of a card than there is on the front. So look the whole thing over.
Good pointers. Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed actually on eBay. I mean, it's hard to get. It's probably very hard to get gem mint cards. I mean, it's hard to get them out of packs sometimes. Like you said, you open a pack of Premier. I mean, your average card, it's going to be maybe like somewhere between an 8 or a 9. I would say. I don't know. It depends on maybe your luck and how well centered the rares or the sheets were cut, that sort of thing. But um, yeah, I've noticed that. Like if you can see the back of the card, that usually at least tells you a little bit more about the condition because the fronts can lie pretty well. Like the front can look amazing, but the back will usually show wear first before the front does. At least that's kind of what I've noticed. So if you don't see the back, that's a little bit of a caution flag to me on pictures.
Sure. And
Yeah.
just imagine you're at the factory and you're seeing the assembly line. Um, some of those sheets have to touch the metal parts, and they
Mm-hmm.
have to slide along to the next assembly area.
Right.
So they're going to be printed and they're going to be stacked on top. They're going to be manhandled or machine moved. So there's going to be hands touching it and machines touching it, putting it onto the next section. It's probably got to be lined up perfectly. Then it's cut. Then some kind of packaging has to put it in the packaging. So I mean, before it even gets in the package and gets sent out to the reseller, it's going to be handled a lot. And so every single card, I mean, even the tournament foils, those were handled on sheets just like everything else. So when you think you're opening a pack, like it magically got packaged without having any handling, is always something to take into consideration. Is that those cards lived in a factory, and a factory is a dangerous place for these cards.
That's right. They need to be safely encased in graded slabs. That's
Yeah,
where they
that's
belong.
right. White glove service all the way.
That's right. So you mentioned that you're trying to collect some other sets. Are you working on other sets other than just Premier Limited? Like someday, do you hope to have like an entire master set and BGS 9.5 or above, or what's kind of your end game here if there is one?
That is so. Yeah, I've already had A New Hope has been off for like a year and a half. I won't see that for a long time. It
Mm-hmm.
took when things were going smoothly for Beckett. Um, it took almost 3 years to get my set back. So I'm not going to be seeing that set for years to come, I'm sure, but it's off.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal is to have 9.0 or better with every single card. And so I mean it's even funny because I look through um, even the navigation chart.
Yep.
Every single card has some kind of a spot in a set somewhere, even though this is considered what are those uh, like a training. It's got another name to it. It's not really has a number to the set, but it's a subset to one of the premiums
Right.
from the Jedi pack. So I'm wanting to get everything graded 9.0 or higher, and I'm not I'm not going to use PSA. Not that I don't like them. I've got thousands of graded sports cards from PSA. But when I first heard that Beckett was starting to grade,
Mm-hmm.
um, I just went with them, and PSA refused to do Star Wars CCG. They just want to do Magic, and I think they did start Pokemon. So now that I've got two sets that are graded,
Right.
I've got hundreds of others that are graded. I feel like I'm going to keep that format and just run with Beckett for my collection.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I mean, they don't. Yeah, they do. Good job. They just maybe have different things that people value about them. Like the subgrades certainly are nice to be able to tell kind of why you got the grade. Whereas sometimes with PSA, you wonder a little bit why something gets a 10 versus a 9 versus an 8 for various reasons. But yeah, they certainly have their strengths. And Beckett's certainly one of the big two, so certainly a solid choice there to complete your collection.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's the hunt. So that's really the chase. So even though you've inspected the card that comes back under, for me, under a 9,
mm-hmm,
I don't cry over spilt milk.
mm-hmm.
Now my mission is to get like 20 of those cards, and I am going to find the greatest one. And through that inspection, I feel like eventually there's going to be a 10 pristine show up somewhere somehow. But that's part of the enjoyment of the collecting and grading, is that you know I can't complain about it. My job is to pull myself up by the bootstraps, and now I'm on a mission to find that card that is 9.5 or better for that.
Mm-hmm. Have you noticed like certain cards have certain idiosyncrasies to them? Like, are there certain cards that just tend to always have like a certain type of damage on them, or is it pretty random? Like, could you theoretically find like any card you think in a BGS 10 if you had enough time, or is there like a certain card that always has a certain flaw that'll prevent you from finding it that you know of?
Yeah, well, foils, even though they look pretty, there's usually some type of imperfection with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm really interested in like the blank cards. So there's a bunch of series that come out where they're blank. So it's harder to see where the border is, and those cards haven't been handled not too much because you can't use them in play. So I feel like there's going to be a perfect 10 of those blank cards, those error printing cards.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the tournament foils are always off centered, both ways, left to right and right to left. So they're harder to find in great condition. I've only got like a handful, like 4 or 6, that end up being 9.5s, and the rest of them are all 9s. But I think with enough opening up of all the sealed stuff, we're eventually going to find some better quality boxes and better quality packs. Um, that's my opinion, and I've only sent off a handful that were less than 9.0 back over to Beckett, and they graded them out as 9.5. So I'm getting sharper with my inspection, and it's just a matter of sticking with it and staying after it, and you'll find it.
It's a story of perseverance, and yes, and someday, yeah, we'll have to come back and show your new sets here and how you did. But yeah, I've noticed. Like, did you mention that? So you've mentioned that you've graded Premiere and New Hope. Have you graded Hoth yet, or have you sent them off to be graded from Hoth?
So I haven't sent Hoth off yet. I've got
Mm-hmm.
every set. I've got every master card, believe it or not, already inspected. And I have those slated in a very special area that they never get touched, because I'm not putting the effort again into re-inspecting them.
So you have a master set to be graded. It just hasn't been yet. So everything's ready to go.
That's right. That's
Wow.
absolutely right.
Okay.
And if we have another interview next time, I mean, maybe I'll bring another third of the one of the sets, or maybe a New Hope will come in.
Mm-hmm.
I will bring a few of those boxes and show you how they're packaged and how they're ready, because the whole entire box will go in, the whole set will be sent off for grading.
Oh.
And if I could do it assembly line, so when I see all of the grades come in as like my orders on Beckett, when you're a member, you can see as they're starting to filter out that they're grading out. That's when I can send in the next series. And when these come in, I know there'll be 5 or 10 in that set that didn't make the cut. So now I can go back and start looking back in my New Hope while Hoth is being graded, and I've already got Dagobah, Cloud City ready to go. And so that's kind of the chase, is that even though I've got sets in the middle of being graded, sets that have already been inspected, heading off for grading, I'm still working on the Premiere to find like 6 cards. And I know Cameron, he just opened up a box, and he was surprised to hear how Banis Key gets a common. I've had poor luck finding anything over an 8.0. And he's like, wow, that's just a common. And yeah, believe it or not, there are a couple cards, depending on where they're sitting on the sheet, they get touched by the roller, where the scissor has to lay on the sheet. Sometimes that's the card that gets touched. And the Luke Skywalker the land speeder, that always has a line from north to south. And if you reflect it on the light, I can show you 100 examples. And that's one of the videos on the Star Wars
right.
Is that stupid line. And I tell you what, I'll open up a pack or a box, and that's all I'm looking for. I mean, I'm throwing Darth Vader's aside, Luke's aside, Leia's hand, and I finally find the land speeder, and it's just a stupid uncommon, which is one of the first three on top. And all I do is I'll just gently, bounce it off the light, and there's the line, and I feel like I'm defeated. That was a whole waste of a box.
Oh no. Well, maybe one of these days you can find it, but that's interesting to know. So yeah, it seems like maybe depending on the position of the sheet, certain cards are more prone to having certain defects on there. So that'll be kind of fun to see as this evolves, if that becomes kind of a widely known phenomenon on which cards have those sorts of features. Because I know in Pokemon people kind of know. I think it's the base set. I think it's like Clefable or Clefairy foil. Is that the one? No, Chansey. That's the one. It's kind of a hard one to grade apparently, and there's people that know about that. So maybe it'll be the same thing in the Star Wars universe. We'll know like which cards have little quirks to them.
It's painful. Just as a safeguard, I went ahead and I have, if not all of them, I think I have most. I got to go back and check. I have all the sets on uncut sheets as well. So if in the event you can figure out how to cut those perfectly, you can end up having pristine cards. But I can't bring myself to cut any of those, even though I've got many, many, many uncut sheets of it.
I see. We got a question from Will, Star Wars CCG to the moon. Have we given any updates on BGS or PSA taking cards again? I don't know. Have you heard anything on that, JP? Have you heard anything on?
Yeah, so I've got some family members that have just recently got involved, and they're interested too. And when I told them that the companies aren't grading, you thought they'd just lose their marbles, that we can't just send in cards. I said, if you want to do them $200 at a time, we can get them graded, but we're not going to do that. So we keep kind of a beat on it. So I think it's February for Beckett, and January was kind of the new update for PSA.
Right, that's kind of what I was hearing. I mean, tentatively, that's what they're aiming for, but who knows? Like, I'm sure, like you said, people are already lining up their cards to submit. So as soon as they open up, they're going to get a deluge of things. So it might be good just to have it like ready to go. So when it opens up,
definitely, or just use one of the others. I'm pretty impressed with HGA, their aesthetics. Now, I use our group to kind of see how people receive, or what their reception is on how they think their cards graded out. Everybody thinks they're going to get 10s, but man, I mean, Cameron got a fantastic group back in the last stream that you did. And I was pretty impressed with SGC. So if you don't want to wait for PSA and Beckett, for me, I'm indifferent because I really don't care about the value.
Right.
I care about the collection. So if you are that type of person that you want to flip it, then yeah, I'd wait for PSA or Beckett. That's going to be your best value. But if you're bored, or you're just a straight collector and you just want to grade all the cards for your own collection, I'd pick a company and go with them.
Right. I think for myself, I mean, I've kind of used PSA out of habit because back when I had my Pokemon cards, that's just who I submitted with. So I just kind of have the memory, so to say, of doing it. And it's kind of like you and Beckett. It's just because you did it, you just keep doing it. But yeah, you're right. Like, I think Cameron, his SGC returns were quite nice. They have great customer service. The HGA product looks amazing. I think Cameron's also submitting a couple of Jabba's prizes to them just because they'll do the custom labels. So that would be, hilarious to have, Han Solo and Carbonite. It'll be fun to see what they do with that, with their custom labels. Yeah, I mean, for myself, I have quite a few cards at PSA and I'd like to hold on to them, but part of me wants to get them out there because I feel like it's the sort of thing that people see them, it'll kind of get them into it. And I know there's a lot of people back in the day that used to be in the Star Wars CCG. So it's almost like, I don't know, if they see that, they're out there, then, maybe they'll want to have them for themselves. Because, yeah, I mean, I have them, some of those slabs in my, I should call my office area. And, I don't really want to let them go, but it's kind of like, I have to let them go. It's like letting, like it's hard.
That's hard. That's hard. Now, I've auctioned off a lot of duplicates. I still probably have, I don't know, 40 or 50 duplicates. And I have trouble letting go of those because, like, I feel like it's population 3 and I've got all 3 and they're perfect.
Hmm.
So, but getting them out there, true, let other people enjoy them and say, hey, I've got a 9.5, you know, uh, I'm trying to think of ones I've let go. Probably Imperial class Star Destroyers. I think there was like 4 or 5 of them, all perfect 9.5s. I had to
Right.
pick one of them for my master set, and then I let all 4 of them go out into the wild. So
Right.
somebody's got them.
Yeah, well, it's nice because now they're out there, and I think it's one of those things I can only imagine. Like maybe it's just me, having dreams, but like maybe some sports convention, someone will see it and be like, "Oh, what's that cool card with a Star Destroyer on it?" And then start a conversation, and then maybe they'll end up in our Facebook group. I mean, that's the dream, but maybe stuff like that. Because yeah, it's hard when how hard it is sometimes to get those, you know, mint or gem mint condition cards in the wild, and then you go through all the trouble of acquiring them, and then it's in your collection and then to let it go. But I don't know, sometimes it's worth it. And, hopefully we can share at least I'm going to try to share some of the wealth there, but you got to keep some of them too. Like you can't let them all go. Um,
True, true. Or yeah, that's the whole thing is that I'll keep my regular set, but I will release out what I can. And I mean,
mhm,
you get things. So for that's the only Vader. And if I would recommend anything, if anybody wants to chase this,
mhm,
take a look at your Vaders. Your Premier is the hardest set to get graded.
mhm.
And I feel like, of course, that's like his rookie card. But I have yet to see anything come back of this magnitude. I had to open up 33 boxes.
Oof.
So, um, yes, the 33 boxes get you one perfect Vader. And I want more people to grade to have not this competition, but this camaraderie of who has the perfect group of some set. So if you take the tournament foils,
Mhm.
there's only 28 of them. They're impossible to find perfect. So there's going to be a mix mash of grades all the way from the commons up to the Imperial class Star Destroyer and the Corellian Corvette. So I think if there's a bunch of us that are sending them off for grading for your own collection, we can all kind of compete with each other of who has the best average grade, and that'll like I mean for me that drives me. If somebody's going to have a better, if there's like a 10 a Vader comes out like this, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to have to just go and find ways to get a 10 Vader myself too, because my whole you know like mo is definitely have the highest quality cards, highest quality sets possible, and that's the only way that you can prove it is by grading them.
Right. I know, for example, on the highly graded cards and letting them go, I actually have a PSA 10 Tom Tell Screech foil up this week. It's still below $10, but I wanted to let one go just to see what it would do. So I know Will was asking what I thought it would go for. I really have no idea. I'm hoping it goes for at least 100, just because that's a milestone. But I don't know at this rate, probably not. Maybe someone will get it on the cheap, but that's part of the game. Gotta um, it's fun to see what it does. And yeah, right now I think people are still trying to figure out. I mean, there's not that many cards on the market, so it's kind of like a game of like, you know, yeah, just a lot of uncertainty there. So I really have no idea what it'll go for, but that's part of the fun. So stay tuned, everyone.
Absolutely. Yep.
But speaking of blockbuster things, there was a big purchase of a Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight foil the other week. You have a little bit more to share on that, JP?
Yeah, I had read somewhere that it broke the record for graded Star Wars cards, and to really be honest, I mean, a lot of people maybe watching this are going to be younger than me, but I remember seeing like when Black Lotus was about a $300 to $500 card,
Mm-hmm.
and if you know now what you knew back then, everything would be different. But you have to, I mean, human condition and human nature is to follow patterns. And if you see those cards now, they run 800,000, 1.2 million for a lot of the original alpha beta for Magic. Pokemon cards are stupid right now. Everybody's losing their mind, and there's really no surplus. I mean, the cards that are out of print
Mm-hmm.
are impossible to find in good condition. So yeah, so of course I wasn't about to let this sneak away. So I wanted to keep it in our group. And when I saw this went up for sale, actually, if you look back earlier in our group, somebody
Hmm.
posted this and said there's actually a 9.5 out there, and I didn't believe it. I said
Hmm.
to find this, this Reflections 2 version of it is super hard for centering,
Right.
and so uh, so I went out and I investigated the serial number, and I was like, sure enough, it was one of one. There's only one that was graded like this, and unfortunately, both PSA and Beckett have been doing a terrible job of updating their sites all the way through 2021. They've shut all of their operations down. So I don't know if another one is graded like this, but the person that sold it really owns the market on it, and they had it up for 6,000, and I shot him an offer not too far off from that, and he sold it. And now, if it's still one of one, this could be the holy grail unicorn candy store, a Black Lotus of Star Wars CCG. Since one, it's so impossible to find in this condition, and two, everybody loves it, and that helps a lot too. So if it's the favorite card and everybody wants a good copy of it, that's going to be the supply and demand. So that's it.
Very nice.
Stays in our family. CCG graded.
Yeah, definitely. That caused a lot of excitement in the group when that went. Everyone was trying to, you know, saw it went, like, who got it? Like, where'd it go? Like, so yeah, I remember seeing the post there, and then yeah, you came and were like, yeah, I got it. And then you post the picture. I think he had sent it to you, and like he was wearing gloves or something,
Yeah.
but he still had it in his possession. But that was, yeah, definitely an exciting note, because I think prior to the yeah, exactly, do love it. The highest, I think, sale prior to that was, I think, still not even $2,000. I think it was probably like some other ultra rare, maybe in BGS 9.5 condition. Like I think a Palpatine. I think actually was the one I
Yeah.
purchased.
It was. It was. I
Yeah,
went back and looked. Yeah, you're right.
$1,300. But yeah, certainly an iconic card, both in terms of just Star Wars itself and then Star Wars CCG, in terms of gameplay and just desirability as a whole. Um, the
Yeah. That's
final.
one. Everybody has like their top 10 cards, and if you look, just running through other people's channels, and you talk to anybody that's into Star Wars CCG, just ask them what their top 3 or top 5 cards are, and it's always going to be that Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, and it's going to be Palpatine. They're
Mhm.
always top 3 up there. Maybe a Darth Maul alternate image, but yeah, they're always going to be top 10, and for desirability. Um, Now, if you ask me, I could pull limited resources out of this set and say that's my favorite card, and that's got the best aesthetics. But um, yeah, so but you talk about that. We saw the pictures of him holding it with the gloves. Um,
Mhm.
that's a good warning for people that make sure they coin the picture. Make sure they either put their name or some kind of piece of paper shows the date, or
Yeah.
have them. I asked to look at the back of the card. I wanted to make sure it was real and that they just didn't go out and grab that generic picture from our site too. So I
Right.
asked them a variety of pictures, and I talked to the person before you make a big purchase like that. I do feel like Star Wars it's going to go up crazy. Wait till the graders start grading again for the two big
Right.
names. This is going to be stupid, and I just want to warn everybody: it's going to get stupid. The cards.
So that's your prediction that
Oh,
in terms of like prices and stuff, or in popularity, or everything like that, or
yeah, everything like it's just fallen in place with all the other gaming cards, and
hmm.
I mean there are probably more Star Wars fans than there are Magic players. So
Right.
who knows when this is going to start bleeding over, when people start hearing what an investment. Um, did you hear that last sale of that Star Wars card? And they're like, oh, it's going to be like Pokemon and Magic. Well, either way, I win. Either my cards and my collection is going to be super valuable, or I'm going to own every card that's graded and my collection is complete, and I've satisfied what I wanted to do with my collection.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I'm in agreement with you from in just a purely financial sense. I think it's really underappreciated in terms of the value that people place on it, and monetary, just because of how big the IP is, how popular the game was at the time in terms of people collecting it. It's an old product that people played with over the last 20 years, so not many of the cards are in great condition, as opposed to now when every time they open a pack, all the cards basically go into sleeves, and there's just a lot more product printed these days than there was in, the late 90s and early 2000s. I'd anticipate also like probably print quality today is better too, just with, newer technology and all that. So, finding a Luke Jedi Knight, in BGS 9.5 with 210 subgrades is, pretty difficult to do. It's hard to say how many boxes of reflections too someone would have to break to find something like that, and the cost that would be associated with doing that is astronomical, to say the least. Even if the cost is high, I don't even know where you'd find that many boxes to begin with. That's maybe even harder than
maybe they're sitting in some warehouse somewhere that got closed down and they're just in the corner somewhere, or somebody's hoarding them. I felt like I was hoarding a bunch of boxes that I didn't need. I'm never going to open them again. It's cool to maybe have one or two of each one, but I can release that into the wild and let other people have an opportunity to get better grade cards. So, and again, I have no reason to have to go buy this now. It's already graded to the maximum it could be graded, and now I set it aside, put it in my collection, and I don't have to worry about going out and searching more for my collection. That's done. So little by little, as I'm chewing through it and getting them graded, I have less desire to have to deal with people to see if I can get better quality cards. And really, I have my whole I got 60,000 cards set aside. That's just my playing cards. They're impossible to grade, and I can still play and enjoy it. But for my high-end collection, little by little, as it's getting graded, I have less need to open boxes and less need to purchase. And pretty soon it's just going to be one master. I mean, just imagine, what if you had the entire master collection, 9.0 or better? Then you can sit around and look at it or send it off to the Star Wars Museum in California or whatever. But yeah, that's my goal.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to step out really quickly to, again, like I mentioned, move the laundry to the dryer. Feel free to ask questions and chat to JP in the meantime. I'll be back in probably less than 3 minutes, hopefully. It shouldn't take very long, but I will be right back.
All right. So sounds great. I can just kind of run through a couple of interesting things.
Feel free to just show off your stuff in the meantime.
So I decided to bring kind of when I first originally started, this is the encapsulation. It does look like PSA, but you can see at the bottom it's got the black label grading. When I first started looking into what it takes to start a grading company, you think, well, I mean, is it hard? Is it easy? How much money? Well, you need a sonic welder, of course. I still have my sonic welder that works fine. I have 30,000 cases like that. But I had to get an attorney to check the patent office to make sure how many differences I had to have on my encapsulations so that it didn't look like any of the other companies. And that was pretty difficult. And there's actually 13 different changes on these. And this is an original test that has nothing on the label. But this was one of the tests to make sure that everything worked together. And also, I mean, we did all grading cards, gaming cards. So that's another test run for World of Warcraft. And for those folks that want to grade Magic, I've got lots of graded Magic cards. I think I just have them all in PSA, and I sent them off myself. But they're really pretty in these cases. I'm trying to get the foil to reflect. But again, I like the showcasing of the card on top and the label on the bottom, and of course the information there. So I was asked one time when we first started the group, I think there's a difference in Jedi packs, and somebody might have to correct me, but depending on the date for the cards that came out of the Jedi pack, the Aradu has got a red dot instead of a white dot. And so that's the difference on the older version of the Jedi packs, I believe. So if you're looking through Jedi packs and you're opening them and you send them off for grading, from what I understand, the old Jedi packs with the Aradu with the red dot is kind of the older cards. And I need to fact check that. I just kind of remember hearing that just recently. So, and they're stackable, just kind of like PSA. And who knows, maybe someday, we'll get back to doing it. And we had a great system, and we were very fair because we were graders ourselves. These are our vault cards, but we sent them off to PSA and Beckett when they finally opened up gaming cards. And really, I felt I was such a small player in the game that, yeah, maybe we had graded, tens of thousands, maybe 50,000 cards altogether. That there's no way we're going to compete with PSA and Beckett if they open up that market. And maybe that's what it needed. They were kind of not getting that market and said, you know what, this black label grading is just going to go out of business along with some of the others if we just open up the market to do gaming cards. And that was part of my goal.
That's cool. Cool. Little bit of history there that maybe that contributed to your ability to survey cards accurately for your BGS collection. Um, so you think like, so you do you try to aim for, I mean, like a 10 every time, but like, so you have everything set up. Do you anticipate like certain sets? Are there certain sets that are a little problematic or certain sets that were much easier on average when you were looking through them in order to obtain your master sets? Like, are there certain sets where it's like, oh, this was like much easier, this set was just really hard. Like Premier Limited would probably be one of those if I had to guess.
Yeah, that's right. And what's funny is Premier Unlimited is one of the most free of defects cards there are. So it's funny how the Black Border Limited is the one that has the most problems, most defects. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the unlimited versions, they're always clean. It's hard for the grading text to find problems because it's usually the card stock will show white when it's chipped. And if you have a
Mm-hmm.
white border, it's harder to see or really determine if there's a deep impression or a real chip. Unlimited. But I think when you get to special edition, that's when I started seeing the quality of the cutting, quality of the handling of the cards. Card stock might have been improved a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see as many defects going forward. So special edition forward, and then anything prior to special edition was always, I mean, always centering problems. And that, luckily for us as graders, that's easy to spot. And it's funny when I see people that want to show off their collection because they just see the mains and that's what they want to send off. And regardless, for me, it's a CCG card no matter what. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to get that Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight or any of the Millennium Falcon, but a lot of them are just off centered. And if I see off centered, I throw it aside. I put it in my non gradable, and that's it. It never goes back in that pile again. It's for playing with.
Mm-hmm.
And people, I feel like they're maybe forcing it or don't care that they get a 7 or 8. But the people that send them off, and I can just see just from their simple images that I can spot all the problems with the corners and the centering and even some surface wear that I would have never chosen that card. So, yep.
Right. I guess, yeah, especially in the, when you were submitting, like, I guess the prices of them were, yeah, I guess it depends on what your goals are. Because if you're trying to assemble, a mint collection, I mean, certainly something like that would immediately um, throw a flag that it may not be, maybe hard to get like a BGS 9.5. Because I think Beckett tends to be a little bit harder on centering from what I've noticed than PSA does. PSA maybe I've heard might be a little bit harder on like corners or things like that. I don't know. That's just what people claim, but who knows what. PSA is not exactly transparent on their grading. So, yeah, no, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting going forward, especially with like Premiere, because it seems like that, like you mentioned, that Premiere Vader is kind of like his rookie card. It seems to be what draws a lot of people. Like when I've been auctioning some things, and you compare the price of like the raw card to the price of the graded cards, this Premiere card seemed to really draw a lot of attention because I think again it's like what a lot of people remember getting into back in the mid 90s with the Premiere set. There's a lot of memories associated with that. It's got all the characters from, I mean, not all of them, but a lot of the characters from the original trilogy. So um, yeah, there's just a lot of interest in that set. At least that's what I kind of feel so far. um, but I do wonder, like, because you mentioned that you believe, as likewise as I do, that in terms of interest and value and those sorts of things, collectability, it's pretty undervalued as a whole right now. Star Wars CCG is. Um, do you think it'll get to the point where people are trying to collect like every card, in graded, as high as they can, or you think it'll be like people will just kind of stick to the main character cards because they just like watching the movies, or how do you kind of see it unfolding? I know it's a difficult question because but yeah, I mean, what are kind of
It,
your thoughts on that?
it is. You'll notice a lot of my comments when people are always asking, what is this worth, or should I get this graded? And I
Mm-hmm.
always pose the same thing. I say, well, what are your goals? What
Mm-hmm.
are you wanting to do with it? And I don't think everyone's interested in grading every single card. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's quite an expensive undertaking, anyways. And if the two major grading companies don't bring back bulk, you know, grading to a reasonable amount, I mean, really $15 or less, then I think the market is just going to lean towards trying to find the mains.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I see everybody doing, and that's great because you feel like if I could just get a couple of good mains going and sell them, that's going to fund my next round of grading. And pretty soon, you feel like you can get assembly line going. Of I got I got 100 cards now being graded. When they come back, that's going to be worth $7,000, and then that's going to allow me to grade more and more. Well, that does sound like it should work, but again, as these are going up, the cost of both grading and finding the collector that's going to pay for it. If you have certain cards for my Premier collection right now, and until I find out what the grades come back for a New Hope, I will buy your cards from you, and I'll probably buy them at a premium, especially if they're a population of one.
Mm-hmm.
So I just see right now, until we find out what bulk rates are going to be, everybody's just going to be interested in trying to find whatever their best valued cards are, get them the highest grade, and flip them.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the way. I mean, sort of the way I've been seeing it, right? I've been hunting down a lot of the main character cards because I think that's probably the first steps towards kind of a flourishing graded Star Wars CCG. Maybe you could call it an economy, but I think that's what like your entry point would be for collectors, because that's kind of like what your average person knows. Like your grandma probably knows who Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader is, so
Right.
they could probably appreciate that. Whereas something like like a Sense or an Altar, are pretty iconic in terms of gameplay cards, but your average person, they'd be like, oh well, that's all right, I guess. Like, but it doesn't have quite the same punch. But certainly, I think maybe certain cards would still be good to get. Maybe it'll be one of those things, kind of like in Pokemon or Magic, where anything in like a BGS 9.5 or PSA 10 would still be highly regarded. Um, just because it's part of the game. So that'll be nice to see if that kind of evolves too, so that all the cards get love and not just the 8 main character cards in Premiere or however many are in the other sets. One of the things I thought would be kind of cool and maybe sort of coincide with general collectors, and maybe not just main character cards, but certain things like maybe systems or like certain iconic locations might be something that's kind of like next step down from main characters. Like a card that is considered kind of a trash card to pull would be like Tatooine Cantina, but your average person knows what the Cantina is, so maybe it's a card that people will end up liking more than before. Maybe someday Cantina will be a rare or a valuable card in Premiere, even though right now it's kind of you're not, maybe it's better than a Seeker, but you're not really hoping to pull it when you open a Premiere pack.
You're right. You're right. Seekers were painful to send off for grading, but necessary evil. And you're right. If people can send off all the ships, I mean, the ships are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, I won't get rid of any more X-wings because they just look so dang cool in the slab.
Mm-hmm.
X-wings are cool. All the Star Destroyers are super, super bad. That's really cool. But yeah, that's there's so many different ways to approach this. And
Mm-hmm.
what if you just take everything that's Boba Fett? So I
Right.
know Book of Boba Fett's going to be coming out on the 29th on Wednesday. That that's going to generate also some interest, and maybe somebody wants to have a Boba Fett collection. Well, you can actually get all your Boba Fett's, and it doesn't even have to be but 6 or 8 cards, and
Mm-hmm.
you create the registry on either PSA or Beckett, and then you become the top person to have that Boba Fett collection until somebody comes along has better grades, And if you're at the top spot, they actually they promise to give you discounts on your future grades too. So if you can put together some type of collection using Star Wars CCG, you create a registry set and explain what it's all about, and
Right.
you're the top person in that. You'll remain. You will. Their promises is that you should get some discounts on grading, which will feed even a better collection.
That's pretty cool. I didn't even know that. Maybe I'll have to look into that myself because, yeah, I got the PSA cards, but yeah, maybe making a registry, that'd be kind of the next step in terms of building an actual collection as opposed to a random
Right.
cards
And
thing.
that'll only drive me. Maybe I want to send some off for PSA. If you're going to have the
Right.
best, ships, best weapons, anything Han Solo, then I'm going to throw together a whole bunch for PSA and see if I can compete with you.
Well, thanks for the pro tip. I'll have to check that out after our chat today.
Yeah.
We have a question in the chat from Will. Have you seen well-centered tournament foils? Have you seen any, JP? You've probably looked into quite a few.
Yeah, they're there. There are some whole sheets that actually got cut really good. My the series I have of my Imperial class Star Destroyers, like all three or four of them are all off centered, and I don't know how I'm going to get those graded.
Mm-hmm.
But I got four of them back that were perfect, and I think if you go to the graded site, I have a series of two. I have a Sense and Altar, and
Mm-hmm.
then two Snow Speeders, and they all went off at the same time. And I thought all four were as best that can be. Well, the Sense and Altar came back 9.5 perfect, and both Snow Speeders came back nines. In fact, one's a quad nine, which means all four areas that they graded. And I was like, it just ripped my heart out of my chest. I was like, man, I put a lot of time into inspecting that. But I was pretty happy that Sense and Altar and I think I can't remember the other two. I'll have to dig them up and put them out on the graded site. That yeah, so they're there, but nobody's selling them, and the reason is that this is going up. The chart is going up so exponentially that people don't want to even sell one set for 1,500 or 2,000. They don't even know what to sell it for, but they're
Mm-hmm.
afraid that once it gets out in the wild, they'll never be able to get their hands on it again. Or the executive set. How crazy is that thing? I think there's one out there for $12,700, and there's another one out there for like 7 or 8,000.
Right.
There, all that's in there is what, one or two and a half premier limited sets in there.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
So, but that's what you have to deal with, and going out there finding tournament foils for sale. I think right now, right this second, there's an auction for $1,400, and it doesn't even have the Corellian Corvette or the Imperial class Star Destroyer in it.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that. I'll have to look that up because, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a stratospheric, needless to say, compared to even just a few months ago.
Yeah.
Um,
There was
yeah,
one
I
guy
noticed
that had all of these.
Yeah.
He had hundreds and hundreds of these tournament foils, and he was selling them. The cheapest one was $1.43. And
Wow.
so I started loading up. Yeah. So I went all the way up, and I think the Corellian Corvette, hilarious. Corellian Corvette was like $35, and I'm like, I'm not paying that. That's stupid. Well, yeah. And so I only bought like 4 or 5 of those, but
Mm-hmm.
all the others, I think I must have purchased 50 or 100 of them just because they were $1.43 each. And now those stupid commons are like $15 or $40 and $50, and you can't even get them for reasonable pricing. So
Yeah. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, I know, like the Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight foil is one that's been going up in price a little bit. I mean, it kind of goes up and down, but now I think it's up at I don't know, it's going above $300 with some consistency, which is a lot more than it was even a few months ago, I believe. So it'll be, like I wish I had gotten my hands on a few more of those to send off for grading, but what can you do? There's only so much time and so much money and a lot of cards out there, so
right.
just gotta do what you can. So do you have any kind of predictions? I mean, it's hard to say, like Yoda says, always uncertain the future is, but in terms of kind of how you've seen the group grow, like how have you seen it grow over the last few months? Has it been pretty steady, or have you noticed any upticks at certain times, or just kind of slow, steady growth? Where do you think we'll be at this time next year?
Yeah, that's hard to say. I actually wasn't expecting to have 200 people in less than a year already. I didn't even
Hmm.
think about that much interest. Um, I think it's been a good growth. It's been good conversation, and yeah, I get to see kind of the dashboard, and it's off the charts with how people are engaged. So I think the group's going to get better, um, only because it's an outlet for support.
Hmm.
And once people get on there and they realize, it's to showcase, and it's to kind of help people be better collectors, better inspectors, and not so much of like buy, sell, trade. A lot of the other Star Wars CCG sites that are there that have nothing to do with grading is either a question, hey, can I use the sand crawler here, or I'm selling my whole collection. It's either one of those two all the time, and there's really not other type of support, but that's all that site's about. Ours, I think, holds a little bit more because once it's graded, it now becomes an investment.
Hmm.
You can still play the game and have a collection that you grade on the side, and like you said, have some subsets of just the tournament foils that you want to have displayed in your house, so it becomes artwork too. So I feel like our group provides a little bit more substance than the other groups where it's just 1,500 people that are just buying and selling like crazy.
Right. And I think I've seen a lot of, at least even in the last couple of months, I've noticed a big uptick in terms of just the amount of, I guess you could call it financial support. But what I noticed before that, sometimes graded cards would go up on eBay, right? And then they just wouldn't sell for, they maybe sell for a little bit more than just the cost of grading itself. But seemingly in the past few months, especially in the last couple of weeks, there have been a few sales significantly more than the raw value for the graded cards. Especially, what's really interesting to me is they've been the Cloud City cards, which for those of you that maybe have been collecting, well, Cloud City was one of the more probably heavily printed sets in terms of Star Wars CCG. But I mean, it's also popular too because it's Empire Strikes Back. And especially with Boba Fett, that whole thing because it's got Boba Fett and his ship in there. But there was a graded, I think today was it, where there was a graded slave one that went for $63 in PSA 9 condition on eBay. Um, right, and then I think
Wow.
this weekend there were, I believe, was it this weekend? If it wasn't, it was not very long ago. There were two PSA 9 Captain Han Solo non foils, so the ones from Cloud City set that went for around 130 a piece. So, I mean, that's significantly more than the raw card price, which I think is maybe $10 on a good day.
Mhm.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, just shows that people appreciate the I guess the collecting aspect of it, wanting to get that certified PSA 9 version of the card, which it was really, it made me feel great about it, like just seeing that there, that people appreciate them, and hopefully it's a sign of things to come that there's kind of support for it among a greater community of just people out there, and that we have room to grow and expand our community and get more people grading cards, and have a nice ecosystem going so we can not just have JP trying to grade the entire master set by himself, but we have some trading going on and sales. Just a lot of fun and excitement. It's a great time to be collecting Star Wars CCG.
I agree. Well said.
Yeah, exactly. I actually have quite a few cards at PSA that I submitted. Probably, gosh, they got entered into their system last November. Who'd have thought that it would still be in grading, more than a year later? But yeah, here we are. It's been crazy. Like, when did you submit your A New Hope set? Was it
Oh
probably around
man.
that time as well, right?
No, it's even longer than that.
Oh
It's
gosh.
probably, yeah, it was probably, man, I have to go back like mm, April or Mayish of last year. So yeah, I have, and I don't know if everybody else does. If they submit to, because whenever I used to submit sports cards to PSA, I'd only do them like 10 to 20 at a time, and
Hmm.
I've never just sent really 10 or 20. I've like my minimum was always been like 50 or 100 to PSA, and they
Hmm.
assign me like an account executive. Guy's name, all he gives me is Alan. That's all. I don't even know what the heck his last name is, and it's like Alan at Beckett.com.
Hmm.
So I had always checked in with him, and then he'll go, "Oh, I'll check on it, and we'll see where we're at." But he doesn't even answer me back anymore, and there's no other ways of contacting him except through through email. Their chat is shut down. You can't. You go to their chat, and it just sends it to a generic email account too. So um, I know it'll eventually come back to me, but like you said, you sent yours off in November. To how many did you send off to PSA?
In this round, I have about 350.
That's quite significant. Yeah, that's like a whole premiere set.
Right.
So yeah, you're not going to see that for
yeah, a little while.
Yeah.
A little while. Oh, Cameron in chat says he also remembers BGS Allen. So maybe you two were, VIPs at BGS getting your own rep for you.
Oh,
PSA gives you they don't even give you an AI. They just give you a screen that shows the progress, and that's the extent of the human communication you have there, as
right.
they're, basically printing money with their grading.
Yep. So until I can see some progress back, because at least in Beckett, you can go to a menu item called My Order. And in My Order, it shows all the orders that you've ever had, your history. So when I start seeing the grades come back for A New Hope, that's when I'm going to prepare for Hoth to go out. But it seems like I'm never going to get through it. I mean, at my age, I'm 50. And at this rate, if it's going to be 2 or 3 years per set, yeah. So it's probably going to take me till I'm 70.
Well, hopefully you don't have to go it alone. I guess the only alternative then is we got to grow the group so we get other people grading. So you don't have to go it alone. So there you go. If everyone's watching the video, help JP out so he doesn't have to,
help me out.
wait till
Or for the next generation, whoever the next JP is, I'll save you all kinds of time for grading if you want to shoot me an offer on all these graded sets. And it comes with the only one of one Vader, and who knows, there's probably, like I said, about 315 Pop 1 9.5s that are in this set.
Awesome. Oh, Cameron's a fan of the new show background template. Well, we have, again, JP to thank for that. And I believe someone in the group also helped the image pop a little bit with the colors too. So we got help there as well from the group. A bunch of
it looks beautiful. And that's what I love about the group. We're just here to help each other and just promote it, encourage. And if anybody's got any questions or need help, I love how everybody just jumps in and answers questions and provides advice. And we're all going to be seasoned graders. So as the new folks are coming in, the new members, they can depend on us to have a solid advice platform.
Yeah, true that. Well, I think we covered a lot of our topics I had today. We covered we showed a little bit of your collection, your big box of it's only a third of your premiere set, right? That box you have.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, throw it off again.
That's a third. That goes from card number 109 all the way to, I think it was 216. It's 216.
Lightsaber proficiency. That's a nice looking card. Yep.
Yeah. So people may get a giggle out of it, but there it is. I'd have to carry 3 of these around with me for the whole set.
It's impressive. Yeah, especially the BGS slabs, because those things are heavy duty. They're thick and quite strong. We also touched on your grading company. That was kind of a cool thing. I kind of liked how you had the label at the bottom. That was a nice touch, because you said that's kind of like what they do at the museums, right?
Yeah, right. So this is Dagobah. So everyone's familiar with that card. But yeah, if you showcase, you're more apt to look at the card itself and not be so much involved in the label. So that's what I think. And it's the only one. You won't find another grading company that has a label on the bottom.
That's certainly sets you apart. And yeah, once you explain it, it makes sense. It's kind of cool tidbit there. Then you want to show off your Luke once more, the BGS 9.5 LSJK foil. Got to see that again. That's a beautiful card.
All right. I'm trying to not reflect it against the monitor, but there's all the information on it.
Oh, yeah, there you go. 210 subgrades. It's incredible, really. I mean, how hard have you found, like, is getting a 10 subgrade pretty difficult in terms of Star Wars CCG?
So, so that actually was posed in the group. Somebody said put cards out that are either quads or tens or of special note. And so there's a whole section. And I'm sorry I didn't put all of the images out on like the original branch, because now it shows like there's embedded branches as you reply more and more. But I've got 20 or 30 cards that shows, I think, a 10 in at least one of the categories.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody went, Eureka, it's possible to get a perfect 10 pristine. And it's true. So it's up to you to keep grading and finding that pristine 10, because if you can imagine when the first 10 comes around, I've never seen one. There's never been one graded, but it's possible.
Right. Oh, that's cool. So yeah, one of these days, if it gets going, we get enough cards submitted, that'll be a fun day on the graded chat. So
Or
hopefully,
maybe it's out there. I haven't been able to find it in the population report. Beckett's doing such a bang up job of getting that updated right now that I can't tell, what's being graded. So there's maybe somebody that's watching this now that actually has lots of cards graded that's not showing us, putting them out there, or has a pristine card that they're just going to shock the world and turn the site upside down. So I'm excited to see if anybody is up to the challenge.
all right. Well, if you're out there, join the graded group on Facebook and make sure to show it off so you can be get that notch in your belt as the first person with a black label or a pristine 10 Star Wars card. Do you have any pristine 10s in your collection?
Of
The
cards,
non-black labels, but just like two or more. Is it 2 or 3 10s? Probably 3. You probably have
yeah.
three.
So it has to be 3 10s and a 9 5. So
Okay.
yeah,
All
that's
right.
at least the bare minimum to make a 10.
Right.
But you won't get the black label pristine unless it's a quad 10.
Okay. All right.
So
That's
yeah,
how
so
it
you
works.
can have a 10 grades out to a 10, but they have to be quad 10s to be pristine.
I see.
So, and I don't have anything in any gaming. Well, so I've got a bunch of Magic that's PSA 10s, but I don't I don't have anything that's a 10 or a pristine 10 for gaming cards.
Okay. Well, maybe again, someone can show off theirs. So that's a motivation for people to start submitting their cards so they can be the first one to show it off with their proof. Okay, cool. Well, I got to get going fairly soon. I'm glad you could join me tonight and make this work. I know we've been planning this for a while, so it was lovely that you're able to join. Um, yeah, you're still at your office at work, aren't you?
I
With
am. It's
set
after
up.
10 o'clock, and if we continue to talk about Star Wars CCG, I don't require any sleep. We can go days doing this. I'm telling you.
Well, this is great. Yeah, honestly, yeah, looking forward to having more discussions with you and some of the other folks in the group. I think tomorrow I'm actually going to have Cam and Andy Talaga on. We're planning on going over some of his collection. I know he's also got, who knows what he's really got once he starts showing things off. I guess we'll
He's
find
got a great
out.
collection. Great
Right,
collection.
exactly. So yeah, that'll be kind of fun to see what's out there. But yeah, thanks for starting the graded group on Facebook. I mean, that's really been a nice, I don't know what you call it, just a place for people to kind of chat. It's got a great atmosphere. I know sometimes, um, you know, people can be very, apprehensive about grading at times. So it's nice that, there's a place where it's kind of the atmosphere is favorable towards you get a lot of helpful opinions and people that are very amicable, and it's just you can learn a lot, and it's been a great experience. So yeah, thanks for starting that up, and hopefully we'll keep on growing a great community there.
Well, awesome. I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on. And I love your channel, and this is a great way to get the word out and get people engaged and encouraged.
All right, well, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks to everyone for watching, whether you're watching live or watching in the future. Make sure to join the group, as we said, the Facebook group on Star Wars, called Star Wars CCG Graded. Is that what it's called, JP?
Yes.
Star Wars CCG
CCG
Graded. Yeah, make sure to join the group. If you can, like, subscribe, comment, all those sorts of things. Let us know what sort of content you want to see. Maybe one of these days you can go through in detail maybe I'll have you on and we'll look at, maybe maybe we'll do like live card inspections. That would be maybe fun to do at some point in time. I know you've put them on the Facebook group before, but maybe having something on, YouTube that a greater audience can see, maybe that's something we could do. I'm sure we can spitball some other topics to discuss.
Oh, we got a million things to talk about. We won't run out of topics, I promise you.
All right, awesome. Sounds good. I'll let you get home so you can get some sleep. And we could talk about Star Wars CCG all night, but
all night.
I should let you go. Awesome. It's been great. And yeah, may the force be with you all. Thank you for joining us.
Good to you too, Mark.
All right, take care.
See you.